Hey, welcome to the Route 56 recap. Hey, this week we were learning about miracles and about Peter recognizing that Jesus is the Christ. We started with miracles, partially just because Chris Armett asked, hey, how come God doesn't do miracles anymore? And so many of the lessons we've been doing recently have been about God doing major things. And, they're all so close together in the Bible that sometimes the kids, I think, get the impression that that was just like day-to-day lives, like nonstop miracles. And we don't typically see that in our world today. So we had my husband, Paul, come in, and he's working with a guy up at Biola, J.P. Moreland, who some of you guys may know, who's studied miracles a lot and has been witness to several miracles too. So Paul was able to talk a little bit about some miracles that have happened recently, and then also just to talk about, why we maybe don't see them as frequently as, it seems like they happen in the Bible, and just to talk about why God uses miracles and the way that he uses that as a mechanism for bringing us to him and building our faith. So it's kind of a fun tie-in. Unfortunately, Chris was not there. So if you're Chris' mom or dad watching this, tell him what he missed. But that was a good lead-in from talking about miracles to then talking about Jesus' question when he's walking on the road with his disciples, who do men say that I am? And they start answering, they give him one of the prophets, something like that. And then Jesus says the really important question, which is, well, who do you say that I am? And that's when we have this great confession of faith by Peter, and he recognizes you're the Christ. And then within the same paragraph, he goes on to reprimand Jesus for saying he's going to die on the cross. So it's just a great story about how we recognize Christ. We say, no, you're God, you're the Lord. And then we still don't always follow him like he's Lord. So I think that that was just a great story. And we're going to be building on that a little bit in the weeks to come too. But what I'm thinking for just bringing stuff home and, working with your students, through this week is something that Paul, my husband, said in terms of God using miracles, and that he uses the body of Christ to go out and do different works, and that's been his way of ministering essentially to the world through his people. So if you guys want to check out 1 Corinthians, do I have it right? Yes, chapter 12 this week, that gives just a lot of information about how we are the body of Christ and how Christ has all designed us special with a different purpose and with a different ministry that we are designed to go out and do, and that we all have a special way of taking care of one another and then taking care of the world that we live in. Kind of a fun way for you to bring this up with your kids is to say, hey, you learned a little bit about how Christ sometimes uses some people to do healing, and sometimes uses prophets and does some stuff like that, and sometimes uses people who are really encouraging or really giving. And just what do you think your spiritual gift is, and how do you think that you fit in? And maybe beginning with, how do you think you fit in with our family? Like, what do you do that builds up our family? And maybe telling them what they do that builds up the family. And then, branching out from there to their church family or in their school, and just different relationships that they have. And that's always so powerful, I think, to give someone a glimpse into what you think their spiritual gift is. And even if you're not totally right, like it's something to begin trying out. So that would just be my idea for you this week. That was, again, 1 Corinthians chapter 12, where you can find a lot of that information. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time.